Kicking off UFC 319, we have a bout between Karine Silva and JJ Aldrich. Silva, with her Brazilian jiu-jitsu prowess, a submission threat on the ground, making her a formidable opponent. Her recent fights have showcased her ability to finish fights quickly with slick submissions. On the other side, JJ Aldrich is a versatile fighter known for her striking and her durability. Aldrich brings a well-rounded skill set, but she'll need to be cautious of Silva's ground game. Like I was saying, Silva's BJJ background means she'll be looking to get this fight to the ground and work those submissions. Aldrich, however, will aim to keep the fight standing where her striking can shine. The clash will really just boil down to where the fight can take place. If Silva can close the distance and get the fight to the ground, or will Aldrich keep the fight on the feet? Keys to victory for me here. For Karine Silva, close the distance, initiate those takedowns, use the superior ground control to hunt for submissions, avoid extended exchanges on the feet. For JJ Aldrich, she's going to have to keep the fight standing with effective distance management, utilize striking combinations, score points, and do damage, and defend all the takedown attempts and maintain her composure. Silva has 9 submission wins on her resume, so we all know where she wants the fight to be. Aldrich lands 3.9 significant strikes per minute, suggests she can outpace her opponents. Silva does have a 50% finish rate. 50% of her wins are by submission, so she's very dangerous when the fight hits the ground. With that, I'm going with Karine Silva. I think the submission threat and the grappling advantage, I think it's going to be too much for JJ Aldrich, and I think Karine Silva gets it done. What's up, everybody? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Now let's get back into UFC 319. In the next fight, we have Nursulton Ruziboev versus Bryan. It's a middleweight showdown. Ruziboev comes in with a record of 36-9-2. He's known for his boxing background. Bryan, the Ultimate Fighter winner, brings an impressive 13-2 record, showcasing his striking combinations and experience edge in the octagon. Ruziboev will likely aim to leverage his boxing and look to neutralize Battle, looking to use the long-range weapons, the jab, and that right straight. Battle, however, will look to use his forward pressure to stay in Ruziboev's face and keep Ruziboev on his back foot. The keys to victory for me here for Ruziboev: utilize straight shots to keep Battle in a striking fight, avoid the clinch and getting backed up against the side of the octagon. For Bryan, keep the fight standing with that effective striking, use that forward pressure, get in Ruziboev's face and make him very uncomfortable. And then get him in a clinch and use some dirty boxing, some elbows, some knees in the clinch, just to frustrate. Ruziboev likes using the straight shots and he likes to stay at range. He doesn't really like it when somebody gets in his face. And I will say that's how Bryan has gotten most of his success inside the UFC. So I think this matchup is tailor-made for both of them. Whichever one can dictate to the other one is the one that'll get the job done. So for me, I'm going with Bryan. I just think the pressure and the pace will be too much and it'll negate Ruziboev. So I think Bryan gets it done. In the next fight, we have Edson Barboza versus Drakkar Klose. This fight's taking place at lightweight. Edson Barboza was a veteran, comes in with a record of 24-12, known for those legendary kicks of his. He's just been a staple in the UFC for a while. Drakkar Klose comes in at 15-3-1, bringing relentless pressure and durability. Barboza's striking, particularly the kicks, are going to be a critical weapon against Klose, in my opinion. Klose is going to have to pressure and disrupt Barboza's rhythm and force him onto the back foot. And the key will be whether Barboza can maintain the distance and land his kicks, or if Klose can close the distance and apply that relentless pressure. Keys to victory for me: Edson Barboza, utilize distance, use some leg kicks, the body kicks, the head kicks, avoid getting backed up against the side of the octagon, and look to counter Klose's pressure with that precision striking. On the flip side, for Drakkar Klose, apply that constant pressure, disrupt Barboza's rhythm, mix in some takedowns if he can, just to keep Barboza guessing. And you don't have to make this a dirty fight. Barboza will have a 5-inch reach advantage, and I think that's going to be problematic for Drakkar Klose. On the flip side, Klose is probably going to have to weather a little bit of a storm early and have to eat a few shots to get in close to do his own thing. But for me, I'm going with Edson Barboza. I think the striking and the 5-inch reach advantage is going to be too much. The leg kicks and all the fast, powerful kicks are going to be too much for Drakkar Klose. In the next fight, we have Alexander Hernandez versus Chase Hooper. Alexander Hernandez comes in with a record of 16-8. Opposite him, Chase Hooper comes in 16-3-1. And Hooper is recognized as a creative submission threat and a very nice grappling IQ. For me, Hernandez is going to be looking to keep this fight on the feet, land some leg kicks, and look to do damage on the feet. Hooper, on the flip side, he's been growing leaps and bounds in the UFC, but we know where his bread is buttered. He's going to be looking to get this fight on the ground, use those slick submission skills he has, and I think that's really what this fight's going to come down to. Keys of victory for Alexander Hernandez: land some powerful strikes early and look to test Chase Hooper's chin. Avoid the grappling exchanges and all the submission attempts. Use a lot of movement and a lot of feints to keep Hooper guessing. On the flip side, for Chase Hooper, close the distance, initiate those grappling exchanges, utilize all the different variations submission attempts he have, and then mix in some ground and pound when he gets down there. In this fight, I don't think Alexander Hernandez can be too patient, because if so, Chase Hooper's definitely gonna get this fight to the ground. This guy's really blossomed and matured in the UFC, and even he's starting to round out his game. Even his striking is starting to look a little better. With that, I'm going with Chase Hooper. I just think the grappling and the fight IQ will be a bit too much for Alexander Hernandez. And Hernandez, for me, he just doesn't really string too much together. So I think Chase Hooper gets it done and continues the momentum he's on. In the next fight, we have Jessica Andrade versus Loopy Godiniez. Jessica Andrade comes in. She's a former champion, 26-14, but dealt with a lot of damage here lately in her career. Loopy Godiniez comes in, the fresher fighter, in my opinion, record of 13-5, known for her cardio, wrestling, and pace. For me, I think this is going to come down to Andrade's championship experience and being in big fights and fighting all different types of fighters. She's got all this experience, but at the same time, she's had to deal with a lot of adversity. Godiniez, on the flip side, she's moving her way up the ranks, and she's going to have to look to use that pressure and that pace and make this a dirty fight, and definitely look to wrestle. Keys to victory for me, for Jessica Andrade: use that experience, manage the pace of the fight, look to land those powerful strikes when they're in the pocket, and defend against all the takedown attempts and all the pressure from Godiniez. Conversely, for Loopy Godiniez, come out, set a high pace, a lot of pressure, and get in Andrade's face and get her up against the side of the octagon, tie her up in the clinch. Then when she gets Andrade down, mix in some ground and pound, control her, and look to do damage, and she's going to have to avoid staying in the pocket with Jessica Andrade. Andrade lands 6.39 significant strikes per minute, and she's been in a few 5-round fights. I'm going with Loopy Godiniez. I think she's going to figure out a way to get inside on Andrade, get the takedown, look to control Jessica Andrade, and mix in some ground and pound. I think Loopy Godiniez gets it done. In the next fight, we have Gerald Meerschaert versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. It's a middleweight fight going down between striker and grappler. Meerschaert comes in with a record of 37-19. He brings a lot of dangerous submissions inside the octagon. Oleksiejczuk is a knockout artist, comes in with a record of 20-9. And I think he's going to have to look to keep this fight on the feet. Meerschaert is just all about the grappling and getting this fight to the ground. On the feet, I think he's serviceable. He's a southpaw, but he is slow on the feet. Oleksiejczuk, for me, I think he's just going to be looking to land 1-2s or that big left straight and just get Meerschaert out of there. And I think he's going to try to do that before Meerschaert can get the ground game going. Keys to victory for me here, for GM3, close the distance and initiate those takedowns, and then get Oleksiejczuk in the clinch. Once he gets him to the ground, look to get some control, and then look to lock up some submission. But he's got to avoid prolonged striking exchanges with Oleksiejczuk. On the flip side, for Oleksiejczuk, keep the fight on the feet and utilize that knockout power. Defend the takedown and use some strong footwork, and look to set traps against GM3 on his entries. Just like I was saying about GM3 submission ability, guy has 29 submission wins on his resume. So we know if this fight goes to the ground, Oleksiejczuk could be in trouble. And then on the flip side, Oleksiejczuk has 5 KO wins. So this fight's very clear. Wherever it takes place, if Oleksiejczuk keeps it on the feet, I think he gets it done. So for me here, I'm going with Michał Oleksiejczuk. I think he's going to do a good job keeping this fight on the feet, and I think he's going to land that big left straight on GM3 and get him out of there. In the next fight, we have King Green versus Diego Ferreira. King Green meets Diego Ferreira in a lightweight bout. King Green comes in 32-17-1. Definitely a veteran in the game, been in there, faced a little bit of everybody, but he's taken a lot of damage over the last couple of years. Ferreira comes in, he's another veteran, 19-6, brings a nice little finishing ability and some momentum inside the octagon. And he's looking to capitalize on all that damage. Green's experience is countered by durability concerns. The Jalen Turner fight was one of the most brutal stoppages you'll ever see. Ferreira's more so known for his grappling ability and his ability to finish fights on the ground, so this fight can be tricky. Bobby Green fights with his hands down, a lot of head movement, a lot of slipping and looking to counter, and it should make for an interesting fight. Keys to victory for me, for King Green, use that experience, maintain the fight at a good pace, and he's going to have to avoid getting hit clean. Keep the fight standing and leverage that veteran experience. On the flip side, for Diego Ferreira, apply pressure to exploit Green's durability issues, get the fight to the ground and hunt for those submissions, maintain momentum with that aggressive style. Green's experience and his fight IQ are definitely up there. He adapts well in the fight. If he can avoid getting hit clean, he can get it done. Ferreira will need to counter, slip, and get that takedown. Once he gets that takedown, do damage, mix in some ground and pound. My pick here, I'm going with Diego Ferreira. I think he's going to be able to capitalize on Green's durability concerns and get the job done. In the next fight, we have Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott comes in with a record of 21-13-1. He's definitely a veteran, known for that unorthodox style and just being super gritty. Kai Asakura comes in 21-5. He's a striker with a 62% finish rate, making him a formidable opponent. Elliott's style is just about grit, determination, and looking to break guys' will. Asakura, he's looking to finish guys on the feet, got big power in his hands at flop, and it should make for a very compelling fight. Keys to victory for me, for Tim Elliott, use that experience and look to disrupt Asakura's rhythm. Leverage wrestling to control the fight. Avoid standing exchanges with Asakura because that power can get him in trouble. On the flip side, for Kai Asakura, utilize striking to maintain the distance and do damage. Capitalize on finishing opportunities once he starts to touch Elliott a little bit. And then he's going to have to keep Elliott at range and keep this fight standing. Elliott's UFC experience gives him an edge in managing the fight dynamics. Asakura's high finishing rate and striking prowess make him very dangerous in exchanges. It should be a fun fight, but I'm going with Kai Asakura. I think his power will give Elliott some trouble, but Elliott is a dog and can grind this fight out if he gets in the clinch or to the ground. In the next fight, we have Jared Cannonier versus MVP, Michael Venom Page. Cannonier comes in with a record of 18-8. He's known for his knockout power. MVP comes in with a record of 23-3. Has that unique karate style, unorthodox angles and timing. Cannonier, for me, he's going to have to rely on his power and maybe even have to grapple a little bit to deal with MVP. MVP is going to come in with that speed, the unorthodox striking to keep Cannonier guessing. And the key would be whether Cannonier can close the distance and land his power shots, or can MVP maintain the range and just frustrate Cannonier. Keys to victory for Jared Cannonier: close the distance, land some power shots, avoid getting stuck at range by MVP's speed, and utilize some pressure to disrupt MVP's rhythm. MVP on the other side, utilize that unorthodox striking to maintain the distance, avoid getting caught by Cannonier's power, and use those angles and the timing to outstrike. Cannonier will need to tie up MVP in the clinch or even get him down to the ground, in my opinion, while MVP's striking accuracy and unorthodox style make him a difficult puzzle to solve. MVP's ability to maintain range will be crucial. My pick here, I'm going with MVP. I think he's going to use that unique striking style to outpoint Cannonier and just frustrate him, as he's done so many other strikers. In the feature fight, we have Geoff Neal versus Carlos Prates. Geoff Neal takes on Carlos Prates at welterweight. Geoff Neal's a seasoned veteran, 16-6 record, known for his toughness and his boxing ability. Carlos Prates is a rising prospect at 21-7, brings finishing power and nasty Muay Thai skills. Neal will look to use that veteran experience to manage the fight and get in the boxing range. Prates, however, will look to do his thing in kickboxing range, and he'll use those long-range 1-2s. Keys of victory for me, for Geoff Neal: use his experience to maintain the pace of the fight, use boxing combinations instead of looking to land one big shot, Avoid getting caught by Carlos Prates' power. That's going to be the big one. On the flip side, for Carlos Prates, apply pressure to exploit Neal's durability. Use those teeth to the body to get Geoff Neal's hands to drop. Maintain that slow forward pressure and keep Neal just at the edge of range. I do like Geoff Neal's experience and being in there with high-level competition. Carlos Prates does have a really good finishing rate and momentum. In this fight, I'm expecting this to be a lot of fun, but I'm going with Carlos Prates. I think he regains the momentum and he gets the job done. In the co-main event, we have Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. Lerone Murphy comes in 16-0-1, brings a very well-rounded game. Pico will be making his UFC debut from Bellator and PFL. It's a dangerous opponent at 13-4. Murphy looks to use whatever skill he needs to get wins. He can keep the fight on the feet or use his grappling to secure wins, while Pico will look to leverage his wrestling and striking to test Murphy. The key will be whether Murphy can adapt quickly enough or will Pico's style frustrate Murphy. The keys to victory for me here, for Lerone Murphy, set the tone early and dictate the fight. Be ready to sprawl and defend all the takedown attempts, and don't get backed up against the side of the octagon. For Aaron Pico, blend the striking with the grappling. Use the strike to set up those shots to get the takedowns. Use some forward pressure and never let Lerone Murphy get comfortable, and capitalize on any openings in Murphy's defense. Murphy's wrestling and control and cardio reflect his ability to dictate the pace of the fight, while Pico's striking and finishing ability make him a dangerous opponent. Murphy's experience in the UFC provides him a little bit of an advantage, in my opinion, managing the fight. So with that, I'm going with Lerone Murphy. I think he's so well-rounded, adapts very well in fights, has a solid fight IQ, and sticks to a game plan very well. Before we get into the main event, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. In the main event, we have Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev for the middleweight title. DDP comes in with a record of 23-2, using that unorthodox style and all that heart. Khamzat Chimaev, undefeated 14-0, brings that dominant wrestling prowess into the octagon. DDP will rely on his striking and physical strength to test Khamzat, while Khamzat will aim to implement that wrestling dominance to control the fight. This clash will be whether DDP can keep the fight standing and land his strikes, or will Khamzat take the fight to the ground and just impose his will. The keys to victory for me here for DDP, use the striking to maintain the distance and look to do damage against Khamzat. Avoid getting taken down and controlled, and he's got to survive the first round avalanche that is Khamzat Chimaev, and then take Khamzat into deep water. On the flip side, for Khamzat Chimaev, utilize control, wrestling, and look to dominate. Manage that gas tank in the first 2 rounds and look for takedown opportunities when DDP is off balance. With his style, DDP gets himself off balance so often. And then lastly, for Khamzat, maintain the pressure and look to mix in the ground and pound when he gets DDP on the ground. Chimaev, he's undefeated wrestler, just uses a lot of control, a lot of ground and pound, and looks to finish guys with submissions or ground and pound. Khamzat's probably the most dominant fighter in the first round in the UFC. The question would be whether DDP can survive. If DDP can survive and keep the fight on the feet, I think he can definitely make this a very dangerous fight for Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat will get DDP down in the first round and then look to impose his will, but I do think DDP will survive. I don't think Khamzat will gas in the first round though. The best grappler DDP has faced was Derek Brunson, and no disrespect, but Khamzat's grappling, in my opinion, is on a different level. DDP's takedown defense is only 50%. I know Kamaru Usman is a welterweight, but he's probably the second greatest welterweight ever. Got taken down multiple times by Khamzat, even got 10-8'd in the first round. I think DDP's best hope is to catch Khamzat when he shoots a takedown attempt. I think the unorthodox style lends itself against strikers on the feet, but against an elite grappler, I think this will be his undoing. So I'm going Khamzat Chimaev and new middleweight champion. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Let me know your picks, questions, comments, thoughts, and your feedback are always welcome. And as always, until next time.